fighting with uncertainty, right? Always society are changing, your competitors are changing, schools are changing. Keio, Gakushin University, they are happy ones. In Europe, all the business schools, professors take trips to market the school and the campus students, French business schools. Because of the worldwide recession, except EC, INSEAD, ESSEC, all of the business schools are crazy about, getting together students. French business schools are very popular in the Asian countries as well. Asians go rather nowadays to French business schools than to American ones. Why? Global variety, right? So many nationalities get together. For instance, in my class in India, Paris, 20% are Indian students, 25% are Chinese, no Japanese, and the rest are the EU citizens, Americans, Latin Americans. France is a capital of Latin world, so there are many, Spanish-speaking students. So that's what's happening in Europe. And the professors at business school, professors don't have tenures, all the contract professors. And the students evaluate each class by 10 scales, by 10. So you are always scored. An average score my last was 9.2. That's too good. My real score was about 8.5, etc. Whenever we had Chinese students, my rating of communication is, say, 0.6, 0.5. Means if you don't understand what the professor says, professor's communication ability is rated lower. That's what can happen. Pursuit and efficiency, as well as team approach for synergy and self-realization, really leading to higher performance. I said, for the first thing in the morning, happy project, delight, right? Project. If not, it's full of fun, even though it's very challenging. I can't assure most of the time success. This is just for reference. One of my English papers, which was evaluated very high, is this historical models of project management. My boss cited this, my original work. This is a simplified chart, how PM model behaved over time. So everybody knows that project management was originally planning and management method for engineering construction as well as space development airport. But nowadays, because of PMBOK guide of PMI, PM got diversified and became very accessible to everybody, right? Then product development, ICT, now we call it now ICT, before ITC, information communication technology, finance. Can believe finance is the third customer of project management deployment. Yes, American banks, et cetera, et cetera. Not only IT, but banks are always go through mergers, et cetera, et cetera. So they practice PM quite seriously. And this is second generation. And Japanese P&PM opened a new era of strategic project management by means of its homemade program management. And project management is becoming to be friendly and friendly on one side. On the other side, the current focus is on heavyweight infrastructure project. So much funds are being poured to infrastructure project. So what happened is that there are absolute lack of project manager who can handle, talk about, handle, manage infrastructure project. Say about 90% of certified project management professionals, PMPs of PMI, come from IT industry. It is possible for a project manager coming from IT industry to manage eco-smart city, a nuclear power plant project. No, right? And so increasing population of project management and fit of expertise among suppliers of project management skills and the customers' project management skills are different. So that's what we are seeing now. Now, this is very important message. I would say that this is a century of project and program management. Statistics, for instance, World Bank and surveys by global professors indicate that minimum 30%, sometimes 40% of GDP is now being contributed by projects or projectized business, like manufacturing companies. Cycle time is becoming shorter. So before manufacturing is typical operations, a stable one. But look at Sony, Panasonic, they're doing each year different things, project, right? And in Japan, very sadly, triple disasters took place. That made the Japanese scenario drastically different. So traditional management can't apply. So you need project type management knowledge and skills. So this is a very grave message. And to be winners in global business, yes?
Your previous comment was that there's a large shortage of project managers for infrastructure projects.
Yes.
And isn't a large part of the problem in the disaster region infrastructure? So is that equally true in Japan, that there are not enough people who have the expertise to manage?
Much better in Japan. But in the US or Asian countries, there are really very few project managers who can handle infrastructure projects. But in Japan, because of we have so-called super general construction companies, right? They have very well-trained project managers which can handle infrastructure projects.
So we went and a tour. We went and visited the region, and we heard some of the local leaders, town mayors, and such told us that things were not moving, but that problem is more a governmental leadership problem than a project manager problem.
Yes.
Once they decide what to do, there are project managers that in Japan who can
Project managers
lead.
Okay, but we are absolutely in short supply of skilled journeymen, craftsmen. Journeyman?
Yes.
craft 職人、熟練の職人、英語でジャーニーメンって言うんです。一箇所の現場から次へね、高い給料で動き歩く。Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Very good. Right. Races against time to market. 上司時間. Well, sometimes we call it time to profit. Right? That's more profitable. Time to profit. And product out, change from product out strategy to marketing strategy. Can anybody explain this? Who majored in management? No, what is product out strategy and what is marketing strategy. Japan is champion of market product out strategy. Product out strategy is depend on technological excellence of your company. Believe that if you put on the market excellent products of yours, people buy. But it's a sort of myth. It was true probably until 10 years ago. Now, market is moving. So corporation should have the capability to tailor your products to market needs. So that's marketing technology, policy. Okay. Now, if you are interested in innovation, innovation is not sanctuary of technology only any longer. Before, technology determined about 70%, 80% of innovation. But nowadays, to accelerate innovation, we need mechanism building, for instance, by way of program management. And so this is a very important message. And yes, we are very earnestly facing the challenges posed by the triple disaster, Daishinsai, right? So we have to think about how to solve global environment concerns, how to debottleneck 廃炉を解消する。debottleneck 廃炉の解消です。debottleneck energy, food, water, and hygiene, like AIDS, right? Frontier development, and of course, emergency response, earthquakes, tsunami, regional conflicts. So we said that at certain point this year, this Grand Design by Japan program was forced to directly face Shinsai Fukko Mondai. And we invited so many prestigious professors, researchers, NPO leaders. They're very good. And so we listened to them free of charge. That's a very nice part of Grand Design Japan program. So you should be, and I should be, we should be knowledgeable about how we can contribute to the global commandments. That's a question asked for us, professionals, researchers. So what we currently see in the world is global recession, of course. Really, outside of Japan, economy is down. My colleague, Indian Association president, told me that Tanaka-san, this year, all the state enterprises in India cut in half their budget of, sending their employees, government servants to seminars. So I can't invite you this year. Yes. Indian Oil Corporation, Gale, companies like that. Even India is like that. Now, increasing eminent power of eminent economy, BRICS, Korea. Do you know why I made uppercase S instead of small s? Brazil, Russia, India, China. And what's S? New S. Great, yes. South Africa joined the club, okay? What is unique about them is their speed making, decision making very fast. Korean corporates decisions very fast. Oh, by the way, I think president of Samsung is graduate of KBS, right? Sensei. And now what we're doing in the mature economy, industrialized countries, Japanese, French, we started joining forces, right? Mega company to mega company alliance to tide over the difficulty. That's very good. But sometimes we hear about divorces like Sony Ericsson. Suzuki and Volkswagen, right? And another characteristic is, national team program approach, best of the combination to export infrastructure business, etc., etc. So this is national team of talents, not only KO, but Tokyo Institute of Technology 学習院、東北学院、岡山県立大学。Good. This is no silos. So let me ask a question. Has project management functioned in the post-triple disaster recovery of Japan? I put my evaluation, but you may argue that central government, regional government, community, industry. Are there any objection or comments about yes or no? Question is, has project, forget about the program management, has project management functioned in this? The answer is yes and yes or no. Yes and no. Certainly, all the NPO leaders, they did excellent project program management. Sure. But nobody believed, probably, government did the very professional project management. They are shaking, that's rolling. Don't you think so? Yes. I personally met Prime Minister Noda in February this year. He's a very, seemingly slow person, but he's a very determined one. He doesn't, changes his position. So let him do a good job. So yes and no. But at least we can say that in regions, most of the leaders did highly dedicated, excellent job. However, we wish that they knew more structured PM and made their jobs easier. So one dream is that I repeat this class in Japanese in Tohoku sometime, maybe one day, 2 days, with local government, regional government, officials, volunteer leaders. This is road construct for a nation. Was made by me and Ukrainian Minister of Finance, Vladimir Yaroshenko. We all of us know that we need a national strategy set, and that dictates next generation naval capabilities, R&D of that. This is a hard line. But nowadays, what is stressed is service science research trust, okay? And the value capture mechanism building. What is the difference between value creation and value capture? Anybody? Can you comment? That's MIT, Sloan School's definition, value creation, value capture. But yes, value creation is typical production of excellent, technologically excellent products, for instance.
That I can understand, but the capture.
Capture is make money out of that. So Japanese are very good at making value creation, but lag behind in value capture. For instance, statistics of Japanese Trade Association still tells us there are several 4-5% difference in profitability of American manufacturing company, not the total industry, and Japanese. Americans are ahead. Why? It's not quality of products, but mechanism building of the product, like iPad, right? Yes?
I think Apple is very good at value capture.
Huh?
Apple is very good at value
Yes.
capturing rather than
Right.
anybody else.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And just to comment, I think it was the cover of the Nikkei shimbun yesterday that showed how much of the components in the iPhone 4 are actually made in Japan by Japanese companies. Lots of the components and the panels and all of them.
Right.
But of course, who's getting most of the value capture?
Sure.
Just what
Yeah.
he said,
Yeah.
Apple.
Brand, they are called the brand owner. Brand owner. Brand owner made a lot of money, right? Okay. So this is India. I'm an annual keynote speaker at the Indian government-sponsored global symposium, New Delhi. It's about 500, 600 conference. And I said that this is global India. Right? You have super brains, global efficient managers, ICT. However, there are a lot of challenges like sustaining huge population, infrastructure building, etc. And I said, you need efficient project managers, of course. At the same time, you need 100,000 project managers armed with new P&PM paradigm, program managers. Indians are very fast moving, efficient. At the same time, they are not quite innovative, averagely, because of establishment. I know only people from large corporations. Because of security of their job, they can't think quite innovative like Japanese executives. Filipinos are very innovative. Because they don't have a lot of money, they should be innovative in coming out with new ideas always. So that's relative. But anyway, innovation is one of the only ways that will allow us to survive in this century. This is my colleague, Minister Federico Yaroshenko of Ukraine. He's a strong supporter of my association's P&PM guidebook in Russian. Ukraine is the largest outside of Japan international community of Japanese program management. And three of us recently wrote this book. I can't read, but it says project program management, innovation project program management based on the Japanese P2M knowledge system. It's 220 pages. It says something in English. Oh, this is only English introduction. And we expect another book being published here. Really, Russians, Ukrainians, the old CIS countries love Japanese management systems as well as Japanese technology. So I heard that there are somebody who are teaching my course without my own permission in Russia. So it's not legal. So this is summary. Global competition places for innovation. The complex world demands project management model that can address complex problems. And apparently to us, practitioners, professors of strategic project management, we say there are limitations in just analytical or deductive management frameworks. We need an adaptation mechanism building model. That means always, this is good. Grand Design Japan have kasetsu. Kasetsu, adaptation in the kasetsu, this one, difficult word. Kasetsu を立てて、それを検証する。Prove adaptation, right? To make advancement. And country value or survival by deployment by structured program. So we need a new platform and methodology, and we consider projects and programs as an integrated field, not just a single discipline. Okay? Put in management, put in risk theory, put in knowledge management, put in, say, engineering course, life cycle, total optimization, modeling, and and we try to have value capture and innovation at the end of the day. This is the last slide of this section, and then we'll go into project management section. Now, this diagram is a product of my academic boss, Professor Christophe Bredile. This explains that in the simple to new adaptive projects, the ordinary project, right? Like new product development, or model changes the product, we can apply, the processes, right? And program and action, that means pre-planned actions is all right. Low sensitivity to alias. Alias is dice, サイコロ。そう、サイコロ性が少ないですね。And then we have, it is necessary to put processes and actions under control limits, this one. Mostly, manager's job is to monitor whether what we are doing within the thresholds, control limits or not. And take, if you find this one, deviation, a variance, and then manager takes corrective action. That is ordinary, traditional project management or the general management. But nowadays, complex or innovation project, we need creative actions, right? Very new, right? And then strong sensitivity areas that you don't know. There is so much uncertainty that may affect the project. So high sensitivity of variances. So it's impossible to control project by single control limits. So control limits itself moves. It's like a grand design by Japan program. So be tough, consistent, don't give up. You can do it. But remember that one single solution can solve everything. So scenario, you should have multi-complex scenario to manage this innovative project. So we need management by praxis. Praxis is a Latin word. And literally means process. However, original praxis is a little bit different from process. In praxis is the series of actions to act, learn, feedback, and improve. That's more broad, productive series of processes. That's praxis, right? And instead of deductive or analytic logics, we need heuristic logic. Those from IT industry, you use heuristic. In Japanese, I don't know, なんとか推論的ですね、ヒューリスティック。まあ、大体こんなもんだろうと決めて、それを詰めていくというやり方ですね。ヒューリスティックアプローチ。Let's conclude that section 2, and we go into this project management. Before that, I may ask several questions. Are there any of you who attended structured project management courses, classes like this before? Are there any? 1, 3, 4. That's very good. To be frank, Japanese higher education or project management at schools is least advanced in the world. All other Asian countries have Master of Science in project management at graduate schools. In China, there are 130 programs, degree programs of Master of Science in project management. In Korea too, Singapore too, Australia, I think 30, 40. US about 30, 40. I don't argue about the quality, but it's like a body blow of boxing, right? On the long range, it works, right? Questions: having formally educated project management professional at government agencies, etc. That makes a different story. In China, state head, prime minister, they are engineers. They come from schools like Tsinghua. They understand project management completely. So they promote project management discipline. So it's very good that KO has this class, and there are several others. But we should step up more if you think this is a valuable opportunity to enhance your career or to make this class helpful to your actual professional work and challenges. Okay? We break at 1 o'clock. Before that, we do some first part of project management lessons. The objective, in this section, we are going to obtain a generic universal definition of project management, not single project management standard definitions. I'm saying this because each professional project management association have to survive on members' certification business. If definition of project management is very simple, you can't attract the customers. So try to make definition a little bit nicer, either very easily or very sophisticated. But I tell you what, this is my definition of project management. And then we go through a flow of project management and discuss, cross-check why we deploy means utilize project management in terms of objective, resources, process structure, and results of project management deployment. And later in the day, we try to capture fundamentals and critical techniques of the respective processes, like scope management, risk management, say time management, cost management, only essential points. Because I know that you are not project manager of major size, $100 million, the infrastructure project. So try to limit ourselves to essences for efficiency. But essences which are really needed, and only essential techniques, templates. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. I started teaching foreign client engineers about 30 years ago. I used to host one-day lectures with young engineers of client companies from Indonesia, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, South America. And so always this two-way learning is a lot of fun for me. It's quite tiring and boring if I speak, one way. So I invite you always to challenge me, say something, whatsoever, right? This picture, rainbow picture, is a product of my colleague of Sony, Ms. Inoue. Inoue-san speaks almost perfect American English and is a good trainer. She trains around the world about Sony engineers, technicians. So usually I share my classes with Inoue-san, but today this is my class, so I'm teaching, speaking alone, but I invite you to speak, teach together with me. So once again, let's come back to this clinical definition of project management. PM is a set of management processes for creating any unique new value in a project context. Okay? This in the project context makes a difference from general management. Right? And the process is mission-driven, systemic, time-bound. We have starting time and fixed end time. So in Japan, many of the projects, as you say, have no fixed end time. We say project. But by when are you going to finish your project? I don't know. When it's finished, it's finished. Right? It's not project. Knowledge and people integrated. Yes, this one. We use knowledges of you, me, Horikoshi-san's, and Kodama sensei's. Integration of knowledge is people. And I said, a project can be initiated on a standalone basis or as an integrated part of the program. My friend came to ask me, I'm one person president of one company. Still, is what I'm doing in the project? Yes, because you use outsourced talents for your work. It's a team, virtual team. Right? And another friend came to me, well, still don't have a clear-cut image of a program because we are an IT services company. What we're doing a typical project. Other programs say, yes, program exists on the side of a client, customers. Customer has certain program, and the part of that is contracted for a services company, right? Like that. So this is easy to remember. So logical step of project management is defining what to do. Scoping is what are included in the scope of the project. Okay? Organizing how to distribute the work deliverables of a project to persons or organization unit. That's organizing. Sequencing work is that we intuitively know what work should come before we can start this one, right? So if I ask, preparation of textbook, delivery of this class, delivery of a completion certificate, which comes first? Draw a project schedule. Everybody knows textbook comes first, then class. But sometimes you don't know which comes first. And then you, anyway, don't think in your mind, but write your idea in paper. Oh, by the way, Anigawa-sensei, this afternoon, if possible, please provide A3 paper times 3 for each, and A5 paper for writing down some exercises. A4 times, I think, 4-5 sheets, okay. A3, 3 sheets. But this afternoon, Probably you carry your note, but probably you don't. Just call me Hiro. Everybody call me Hiro.
You said sometimes we don't know the order. I think there's two issues there. Sometimes we're not sure which should come first, but also sometimes the order is unpredictable, right? If you, in some cases, some things are outside your control, and you won't know which will come first until it actually happens. In our case, we might be waiting on some research, and when they finish, then we can use it, but if they don't finish, then we'll try to do something else, or sometimes that's a bottleneck and we wait, right? But sometimes we just don't know which will be best, to do this first or to do that first, and then there's two.
Yes.
The latter, we have no control. We just have to wait and see. But the former case, where we're just not sure, when you're just not sure what's best, you could do either one first, then of course you analyze and try to decide, but sometimes it's just, is it just roll of the dice or instinct?
Yeah.
Or
Well, give us very good, comments. My answer is that there are two basic tools we use. One is historical database of schedules, right? That makes your work very efficient. And about your second question, that's real, challenge. We use so-called rolling wave planning concept. When we have more accurate predictions, data, and then we update our plans. That's called the rolling wave concept. That's central concept of project management. So it's ridiculous that once plan is set, you have to abide by this. And so discussion about project schedule for, what shall I say, the nuclear reactor disposal is not clear. It's not quite professional. Everybody knows that disposal of the, the nuclear reactor shutdown should go through rolling wave concept that everybody is doing. All the professionals is giving us all the best estimate of what can happen. But still, Fukushima an accident much bigger than Chernobyl one. I'm pretty close to Chernobyl. And the president of Chernobyl Nuclear Power Corporation told me it still takes 50 years before the Chernobyl power plant site is returned to greenfield. 50 years from now. They spent already 25 years. And so you should know how much effort have been spent on making the tentative project schedules for disposal. So don't be so harsh about just criticizing, right, etc. So gradually, Japanese engineering capability is very high, one of the highest in the world. So they're doing very good jobs. But yet, there's so much uncertainties you can't predict. So we see and sit down and carefully monitor, evaluate what has happened. And at that time, by giving a good reason, you update, replan the total project. That's our attitude. Yes?
I think he was mentioning about the risk management. And I understand that this circle is something we do for planning before the actual execution, defining through the
That's true.
project plans. So where the risk planning, risk management will be involved, included.
Planning is
Yeah.
part of, this planning is part of this one. Integrating project plans, that is scope plans, cost plans, risk management plans, etc.
No.
And risk management is practiced here. It says managing execution of PDC, managing of executing integrated plans.
PDCA is plan.
Do check and act. That's Deming's cycle. Yeah. So I come back to risk management later on, okay? But very good questions. So many times there are very busy persons, and I always ask Tanaka-san, I can't afford to spend one day, even 1 hour. Tell me what's project management in just one chart. I say, well, one is not good enough. I give you 2 charts. This one and next one. Oh, sorry, this one. Okay. So this is very simplified flow of project management. So the first thing we do is the question is what mission? So define the project. Confirm project mission. Mission can be grand design, objectives, goals, key success factors. So these key success factors, Japanese don't argue much about key success factor, but in the West, always, what a key success factor? KSF, right? And key success factors and key performance indicators are 2 different sets of management gates, okay? So key success factors is if this project is completed as planned on January 30th of 2013, it's success, right? And yes, on budget, of course. And team project, team delight. And they feel you have had your own self-realization out of this project, okay? And then second step is define project scope. We use project work breakdown structure, WBS. I explain WBS by using some samples later on. And then next step is to organize, right? In Japan, we draw organization box first because many times people decide the work, but logically thinking, distribution of functions in terms of work and deliverables, that should come first. And then you position the right person who takes care of that. That's logical way, right? So in that sense, project organization formation comes after this scope definition. And then from this scope definition, we decide which sequence of work on the deliverables delivery, and what the time plans, budget plans, progress plans, and quality plans. All simple, basically. And during the project implementation stage, what we do is set priority. Why setting priority? Don't believe that project management is responsible for every one task. Why? Is there anybody that priority is so, why priority setting is so important? Right? Professor Anegawa is so busy because so many, his own, job of teaching at the regular KBS courses and command this, Grand Design by Japan program, takes care of setting up each project. So many tasks and deliverables we have in one project. But project manager should decide which one should come first. That's priority setting. And usually we use the technique called Is there anybody who knows this Pareto's law?
80-20.
Yeah, 80-20. 20-80 rule. This means in priority setting, we can say if you manage 20% of most sensitive tasks, jobs, you can feel that you are managing 80% of your project. Okay? 20%, there are 20% essentially very important ideas, tasks which are sensitive to time variation, etc. So manager concentrate your efforts first on that 20% items. And then that says that since they are critical ones, you can say that 80% of the project are being controlled. That's Pareto's law, general rule used by project managers, all managers. And you can leave the list of 80% to your assistant, subordinate managers. Okay? And lead the team, of course. Monitor, evaluate progress, initiate and corrective actions. And these two troublesome items coordinate conflicts and solve problems. Almost all data, published data, or the talks of my friends indicate that about 60 to 70% of project management time is being spent for these two items, coordinating conflicts and solving problems. So really, project management is a lot of discussions. So if you don't like to talk with people, better not be a project manager. I'm basically a very shy person, so by learning and by, by training, I can speak like this and talk with people, but basically very shy people. So this is the real heart of project management. But there are very few books which deal with how to solve problems in the project, how to coordinate conflicting interests of stakeholders, because it is very hard. So only practice can help you to have good answer to these two. And report the state periodically. Ordinarily, usually the monthly, once a month. Okay? And this slide and these two are explained by using slides, template slide like this. this is the step that I mentioned. Here, red is objectives. What to do is actually what do you mean by this objective? And output, what actual output do you expect? And process areas is like time management, scope management, time management, etc. This one, I'm going to explain one by one later on. Please have a look at totally 1 to 5, 6 slides or so. I give you 5 minutes and ask me any questions. Since we are having more details about this part, right? What, tell me about the project resources management, time management. That's what we covered. Otherwise, objectives, blah, blah, blah. Then I will explain. I give you 5 minutes. So before we break for lunch, we do that.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear exactly what we're supposed to do.
Now, read 5 slides, and if you have a question, ask me. That's less for me. One by one. So, as I said, this central box correspond to this block, this block, this block. Any term that you don't understand in Japanese, one of the reasons that I'm not teaching quite often in Japanese is that at the association there are certified lecturers, the trainers. If I do training in Japanese, it's not good for them. So I'm supposed to restrict my lectures to those in English one. Otherwise, it's okay. But I'm free now. I'm just an old person having 4 grandchildren, boys. They're very noisy. Okay? Have you read all of these? Any questions? Any part? Any words? Yes?
On the second sheet, where it says defining the scope of the project, and I was wondering that the output is only a project WBS. The next sheet. The output is like a project WBS, And I couldn't really understand why the scope will be defined in WBS.
To be strict, the WBS 1, and then we have project highlights, sometimes project execution strategy, but anyway, very essential first output is project WBS sheets.
Because it has all the tasks,
Yes, deliverables.
deliverables.
There should be no omissions of any tasks or deliverables in WBS.
Okay.
For instance, for my employer corporation, JC, we have WBS down to 16. All the company work are codified by WBS. Even expenses like travel expenses going to Hiroshi, right? That's WBS code 12 something something, etc. etc. So in all mature project industry, primary outputs of project scope management is project WBS sheet. Sometimes 10 centimeters. Okay, that's question. Good question. Any other? Yes, Ishikawa-san.
On the third slide, there is
Yes. This one.
The organizing the project.
Huh?
Organized.
Organizing.
Yeah. The
Yes.
upper left, here is the who are stakeholders.
Yeah.
But I suppose stakeholder affects on defining the projects and defining the scope of the project as well. So who are the stakeholders should be the first step of the project.
I agree with you. I think there are very clear-cut stakeholder that exist from the very initial stage or in the beginning of the project. And there are second tier of stakeholders who are identified after the scope work are defined. So that's why I put here. But your question is very good. Without having primary stakeholder, who are owners, who are the contractors, who are the financiers, finance banks, etc., who funds it, you can start the project. So in that sense, you're right. Okay? Okay, spend 7-8 minutes more in the morning session. Project management methodology. I skipped this slide. So there are 4 subjects that should be covered by why we deploy or utilize project management. They are deployment objectives. なぜ PM を活用するのか。Resources, processes, structure of processes, and result of deployment. And I come back to this process structure with details later on. So at this point, just listen that there is process structure is one of the discussion items about why we implement project management. Objectives of using project management, including program management as well, are laid out here. The first, clear project mission, goal, and objective. Once again, project mission can be replaced with the term project grand design, almost similar, okay? Clear and manageable scope of the project. Third, right means proven project management method and accountable professionals. This is important. Project managers, sometimes engineers, they are very handy persons. They love to create everything. So many of my colleagues at my former employer, JC Corporation, that typical project company, they created their own project management method. That works sometimes, but from the company total performance standpoint, it's not good. So stop your own and use this one, company standard, right? So company standards are most of the time proven, efficient ones. That's why we say we use company standard ones. Let's discuss the profiles of project manager this afternoon. Efficient resources utilization. Of course, timely project monitoring, evaluation, and corrective actions. And nowadays, we stress very much effective team building for project team incentive and delight achievement for higher project performance. Because to get things done by people, that's project management. It's not super project engineer that we are talking about, right? So we do team building. What we do on team building in large projects is to client, for instance, Saudi Aramco project team and contractor project team members, all the key members, altogether probably about 100 persons, go to resort somewhere so that you can cut off phone calls or somebody coming to ask you some questions. And they are packed in that resort and spend the discussion, have drinks, right? A lot of things. And they share missions, objective goals of the project personally, as well as set challenge goals. Sometimes client and the contractor agree on certain aggressive target as an incentive. And then once that target is shared, 50% of that incentive money is given to the contractor company. And then the difference between US and Japanese contractor companies, that incentive money goes to company. But in the US, company takes some, but the money is distributed among project team members. That's real incentive, right? So anyway, team building, that's key concept in project management. So it's nice. We went to Sendai on a 3-day site visit of Tohoku Shinsai. And that's going to be an opportunity of team building. Yes, we go by the same bus and try some yakisoba at Ishinomaki. Party in the evening. Project meeting constraint, of course. Oh, by the way, there is some hidden agenda. That is, don't miss the train. Do you mean what I mean by this? Many large IT companies, when asking employees, why are you attending this class? That's training class for certification. Because company recommends, and the PMP credential is a sort of a, industry passport in IT industry. That's why. Yes. So don't miss the train. That's idiosyncrasy of one-time IT companies. Now IT companies say, well, if you like PMP certification, go on your own. We don't pay. But before a company pays, not the business. By the way, when I was certified as an American PMI's PMP, it was 1996. Even in America, there are very few PMPs. And when I say PMP, how could you pass that exam, right? Because the success rate is about 20%, and I have a language barrier, and I spent all my traveling expenses myself those days, because there is no administration PMP here in Japan. I went to state of Virginia, near the Washington Dallas airport, sat down one day, and you have to pass altogether 8 sections times 40 questions. And you need to pass all 8 questions. I did. I failed at least twice, but it's okay. I said to my manager, is that my face pass? No, Tanaka-san. That's mark sheet, and the computer detects, so it's okay, you passed. But I failed to turn in my bachelor completion certificate of Keio University. I turned in Japanese diploma, and then said, no, Japanese diploma is no good. And then come to Keio's headquarters, Mita, and sent English quota. Okay, you're now the PMP. So PMP was valuable over the. There are so many in Japan now. Resources, right? We discussed pretty much of this. Manuals, record books, workforce, work hours. We used to say man hours, but my American assistant consistently corrected me. Person hour. I said man hour. In industry, we say man hour. No, person hour. So in America, nobody uses man hour. Now, person hour is. Exterior material or knowledge resources available for project. These are resources. Any additions? Fund is here. Any additions that you believe fundamental as project resources? Okay. This is my process structure of project management. It's a little bit different from global standard, but in essence, it's the same. So we start with life cycle perspective, scope management, that's the root. And then we have quality management, time management, resources management, cost management. And these are so-called objectives management. At the same time, we have to look at organization, communication, formation, organization, and communication, risk management, and issue management. Risk management is management of uncertainty. Issue management is accident management, jiko, chombo, etc. Risk management is planned, known, unknown. You know that this can happen, but don't know when and how much. So that's known, unknown. There is the term unknown, unknown, like occurrence of earthquake. That's unknown, unknown. To cover unknown, unknown, we put in management reserve. Only executives can tap. So this management reserve is a special fund provided for the project to deal with any major unpredictable occurrence of unpredictable situational changes. Okay, and the result is accomplishment of the project mission goal and objectives, efficient and value-added project products, customer satisfaction, project team sense of realization and delight, and as a result of effective utilization of resources, some of the resources can be the source of new business. So that's overview of why we use project management. So I pick up question and then close the class for lunch breakfast. Any question? Yes.
Hi. So to create a project and
Yes.
manage a project, we have to think about many things before we start project.
Yes.
And there are many stakeholders in the project.
Oh,
So in that case, so I'd like to ask your opinion. So how many which number is appropriate to create, to think about project, like objectives or team buildings or so large number. We should get together all the stakeholder, or just the project manager think about everything. Which is the best way, best number?
the right question depends on the type of the industry and type of the project. The best answer that should be suitable is that at least you should have a project manager
Yeah.
and a strategic thinker, planning specialist,
Yeah.
戦略家, and one, not the permanent one, but one finance advisor. Nowadays, securing finance is very critical because of lack of fund. And so on the large side project, inclusion of financial specialist is very critical. And I think these three, time specialists, they can be employed later on. So at least project manager should be a tough guy.
Yeah.
If you're a project manager that takes care of given job, it's not good for planning. So visionary type project manager is a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that okay? So let's break at this time. Is 2 o'clock okay? Or 2:10? Okay. 2 o'clock. You can buy pins like this, KO over KO, second store. Good job.
Today it's cold.
Cold.